What's up, gang? Welcome to another episode of the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. You know the drill by now. Every week we select a different comic book story arc. We all read along together and we host a discussion live on Facebook and YouTube to share our thoughts and opinions and give it a score and see where it falls on our leaderboard. We are on all of the podcast networks. If you are wondering how you can get from there to the live video, click the link in the description or check us out on the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club on Instagram. There you go. Intro done. I'm getting better at that. Look at that.
Nice, you're nailing
Literally
that.
seconds. As always, folks, I'm joined by co-hosts here. Let's go around this way this time. We've got Scott from Scott Shelf here on YouTube.
Hello.
We've got Shane from Dawn of Comics.
Welcome.
And we have Phil the Money from Phil's Nerdyverse.
Ahoy, hoy. That's free. That's free nation, isn't it?
You freaked me out now. You stole his intro. Well, what's going on? Right. This week, folks, we are reading The Flash Rebirth from 2009. I'll give you one guess on who picked this one. Correct. There you go. It was Scott.
It was me.
Let's meet the herd then. Before we get into this, we've got this month in movies. We've got Tom here saying boom boom pow. Evening nerd herders. Hope you're all well. We've got our good friend Liam in here as well. Evening everybody. We've got Comic Deal. Scott, you got your work cut out for you today, mate. Looking forward to getting Flash.
Da, da, da.
We have Amy joining us as well. Hello, everyone. And I think we've got, let me just scroll back up because the thing has jumped on me again. We've got Captain Comics. Ahoy, mates and mermaids. Ahoy to you, Captain. We've got your brother in the house, Shane. It's been nice to read about a Flash with legs this week. And we got the Grey Man joining us as well. Hey, fellas. Hey, Grey Man. Hope you're well, my friend. There you go. That's the herd. That's who's joining us and participating today for this episode. As I said, this is The Flash Rebirth 2009 DC. We're going to need a synopsis to start us off then. And I think it is Barry's turn. No, it's Phil. Right, that way.
Okay. So this is happens after something happens to Barry and the Flash, which I'm not sure what it is, but something occurred in the past. So this is his rebirth. He makes a return. And basically it's him adapting to life, being back, but not being able to take himself away from his responsibility of being a superhero. And the Speed Force is playing up. It's been hacked.
It's playing up.
Something wrong with your Speed Force, love.
So Barry had
turning it off and on again.
Yeah, try rebooting. So yeah, Barry has to save the day once again, but he has to handle his responsibility. That's it. It was a glorious book. It looked nice.
It looked nice. All right then. Okay, that's the synopsis there. Let's kick off with. We're not going to start with you, buddy. We're not going to do that. We'll save the gushing. Shane, do you want to kick us off, buddy, mate?
With the art or the story? Should we start with the art?
Let's start with the art. We always go there first, don't we?
Oh, the art in this book is so good. I mean, just grab a comic, liquefy it, put it in a syringe and inject it into my eyeballs. It's beautiful. Oh, every single page, every panel, every face.
That's extreme.
No, it's perfect.
I do agree. Like, art was spot on. It was perfect. It was awesome.
Absolutely loved everything from the movement of the Flashes, how they all moved different, they all stood different, they all had their unique way of moving through at super speed, and you could tell just from the blurs who was who. Fantastic. I have no gripes with the art whatsoever.
Do you know what I really liked about it? And I'll just say, like, right off the bat here from the beginning, the Flash is not a character I'm like overly familiar with. Like, I've read stuff with him in, and I've read like some story arcs that are his, but he's not. I suppose out of all of the main DC bunch, he's one of the characters I'm probably least familiar with. Yeah. But what I really did love about this was all of that, and I think it is quite common in Flash books. all of that trippy artwork, you know, where you're getting all that like electricity and people are kind of disappearing in swirls as they're kind of like going into the Speed Force and jumping around in time and stuff. Like, I really loved all of that.
Yeah, really cool. Like,
awesome.
they were fighting one another inside the Speed Force. I thought that was cool. I
didn't understand any of it, but I was looking at it going, this looks awesome.
Can I make one point about the artwork? And Ethan Van Sciver was the artist, but he must really, really like the Flash, because I have never seen a superhero with as big a lunchbox as Barry Allen the Flash. Like, he literally drew this huge, you know, bulge. Like, he's got the biggest lunchbox you've ever seen. Like,
I think that's a cut to protect him from when he's running so fast. If he falls over, you don't want to hurt your junk at that speed.
They don't call him the Flash for nothing.
it was just really distracting, to be honest. I just couldn't get my eyes off it.
Oh yeah, really?
Phil's just, I'd forgotten to put the little the scrolly bar thing up there at the bottom as well. So the writer here was Jeff Johns and the art was Ethan Van Sciver.
Ethan Van Sciver was amazing. I met him at a convention a few years back to get some books signed, and I just couldn't decide which books I wanted to get signed because I love every single cover that he does.
Take them all.
Oh, I did. I pretty much took like I took a dozen books, and I was like, I'll see how many he wants to sign. He signed all for me. So
just before we go any further, let me just catch up with the chat here as well, because it's running away here. We've got Samuel Taylor joining us, running slightly late, but checking in. Good evening all. How are you, mate? We've got where was Tom's question? Tom wants to know what flavor of lollipops you've got in the background there, Phil. Going slightly off topic. Shane, your brother at Tottenham Gaming, he's saying he runs. What else do you need to know? That's what else do you need to know about the Flash? And we've got Comic Deal here saying there's a lot of things Ethan Van Sciver doesn't like, but Flash is Little Flash is a passion of his. Would it be so, wouldn't it? And Amy saying art is extremely good. Only had a quick look, a flash, if you will, of the book as Scott was fangirling over it all. I did like it a lot. What I was going to say there, what I found, and I'm not making comparisons, right? Don't say that I am. I'm not. But I found this a little bit like the joy I got from looking at this was very much like the joy I get from looking at Michael Turner's art. For me.
What kind of stuff is that?
You've never read a Michael Turner book?
No, neither is Phil. He's shaking his head too.
I've got some Michael Turner art in these books here. Like, I'll have to send you some. Oh man,
his Supergirl run is one of my favorites. Oh man, stunning. Yeah.
But I got that same kind of kick out of looking at this as I did from, like you said, that Supergirl run. I was kind of really excited, and there was lots of stuff going on, and everybody looks really beautiful in it.
Well, I loved it so much I had to share the covers straight away, didn't I, on Instagram?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, look at these covers. I was like, oh shit, they're so good. Every cover.
That's when I first noticed at Barry Allen's Dong was your Instagram post, and then I couldn't see anything else when I was reading the book.
Is it because I zoomed in on his junk and circled it and went, look at this, Phil?
Can I ask just quickly while we're on the topic of those covers, like, does anybody know if, because I haven't actually looked, is this pricey to pick up in like single issues?
Yeah, it's about £10 an issue for the first covers, the variants and more.
Right. Wow.
It's a mega run, you know, because just for the implications of just bringing Barry back, to be honest. I think that's why it's partly that expensive.
So this is where I
on eBay. I wanted some. But...
Go on, Phil.
It's again, having not read anything The Flash before, like, and not really knowing what happened before, I really struggled at the start of this to kind of get into it.
Did you not read Crisis on Infinite Earths?
Was I meant to? Was I even doing homework before?
No, you weren't meant to, but you know, it's one of those big comic books that most comic people have read.
I know what it is in terms of like a roughly idea what kind of gone on, but just reading this, I just felt like I should have done a Scott and started from number 1 for the Flash, just to understand what was going on.
The Flash, he dies in Crisis on Infinite Earths, and he's basically he's basically the savior. He's basically the savior of the whole event because he destroys this massive machine that's ruining all the multiverse. And it's literally been 23 years since that point to this book. So he's been gone for that long. So I think to have, they did really well at being able to bring him back and justify why they're bringing him back, because they reveal certain stuff in this book, which I can either talk about now or I can talk about later. But it's like, he was gone for so long, and it's just so impactful, and it's just awesome that he's come back. I'm
kind of in the middle of you two. Yeah, I'm going to jump straight in as devil's advocate, and I kind of see where Phil's coming from, because I have read Crisis and that stuff, so I kind of did have that information, but there's still some stuff in this book that made me feel like I was missing out a little bit.
You need to read.
I wouldn't say that this was a book that anybody new to the Flash should be starting with. For me, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think that's right. Extra. This was my starting point for the Flash. I've read the Flash in Justice League, to be honest, and he's never really a big hitter apart from the more recent metal and death metal. He becomes more significant. But anything I've read before with him, it's just he's like a
just before we bombard Scott with some questions now. Then I just say hello to 3G joining us, and Slim Comics there as well. How do Slim? And Greyman is asking, Van Sciver did the Green Lantern Rebirth too, didn't he? I don't know.
I believe he did.
Jeff Johns wrote it, but I know that.
Yeah, and Johns did. We've got Greyman saying, funny enough, I just finished reading Flash 350, his last issue before Crisis.
See, now...
Oh, sorry, and we have MJ Comics joining us. How do?
Hello.
Sorry.
That's okay. No, so, yeah, Flash died back in Crisis on Infinite Earths, and he hasn't been seen from since. I mean, he's popped up in a few issues, like they mention in this book.
Yeah.
And he came back to life in a story before this.
Final Crisis.
In Final Crisis, he came back when Batman was killed off. It's like they kill one person off to bring another one back. So, and then you pick up. So I think to understand this story without reading Crisis on Infinite Earths, because I think by now everyone knows that he died along with Supergirl during Crisis. So I think you can. It's like a 30-year-old book.
Yeah, but I haven't read this book yet, and you're telling me everything that happens.
The Supergirl death is iconic. It's on the cover of issue 7 or 8. But
I think we're going to be reading these books at some point.
Probably.
Read Final Crisis, and then this will make a lot more sense. But this is very much pre-New 52, where I was reading everything back then anyway. Like every title that was coming out, I was reading everything. So this is my era. So I was fine when I picked this up and started reading it, even though I hadn't read it before. It's my jam. It's my jam and toast and tea.
I will say, like, I don't know, I can't like glorify the art enough, really. In fact, Scott, I know you chose the pictures here, but I'm gonna just put the first one up if that's okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that you can see like an example of the art there. I know that that's quite small panels and stuff in there, but Scott's chosen these pictures, and I don't want to. He's got them in order. Scott likes to do things in order, so this is number one.
A very ordered man. The reason I chose this photo was because there's a couple of ones from issue 1 where issue 1 is a very nostalgic issue for Flash fans and everyone who's read books and stuff like that as well. Because this page in particular, for the middle panel where they're going through looking at all those massive pictures, they are covers from previous Flash issues. So that's what's cool about that one. So it's just little nods, for the fans, thanks for sticking around and reading and recognizing these covers.
Yeah, but Scott, what about the people who haven't read this stuff before? Never mind the fans.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's like watching The Mandalorian and not understanding and not like knowing all the references to Star Wars, but still enjoying Mandalorian. You know what I mean?
Is The Mandalorian related to Star Wars?
Star Trek, isn't it? I thought it was Star Trek.
Is the Flash in The Mandalorian? I kind of agree with you, Scott. Like, I don't think it ruined this book for me, but I will say, my own spoiler, like I have marked it down a little bit on that for me. because
Okay.
the book really did make me feel like I should know more about the Flash.
Yeah.
And that's not the book's fault. Like, I'm not having a knock at that. That's why I'm saying I kind of agree with you, Scott. Like, I know that's purely me. But again,
think,
reason when we do our scores, we're getting an average of what everybody thinks. And in my mind, I'm kind of thinking, like Phil saying, he's not read much Flash. Like, if you were new and you just picked up the trade of this and you were reading through, you'd probably be very, 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 very confused.
Yeah, but I don't think you would pick this up from a comic book shelf, though. Like, if you weren't a Flash fan and if you hadn't read anything before, I don't think you're likely to walk into a comic shop and pick this up.
Oh, I don't know. With art that good, like, if I just saw this on the shelf, I'd be like, "Whoop, yeah, go on, we'll take that."
True.
The thing I liked about it though was like, because I've read Metal and Death Metal and so on, and there's little kind of things that are mentioned that I don't really know what they are, but this kind of book answers some things. Like they mentioned the treadmill,
the cosmic treadmill,
and it's obviously a reference later on too. And it's like, that's pretty cool, but obviously it's here too. So
yeah,
I'm kind of piecing things together just over 11 years or whatever it is now between the two books.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I can go back and piece things together, but for this particular thing, there's just maybe so much went on before it that I did struggle at times to go through it, but it's still enjoyable. It's just.
And I just say we have YouTube comic book royalty in the house. We got the immortal Biggie Shack here. Thanks for stopping by, Biggie. Yeah, I kind of agree with you both. I'm in the middle here. I don't know, Shane, what are your thoughts on that? Like, I know that you are like a DC expert.
I'm not an expert, but
you are an expert. To me, you're an expert.
The era after Crisis, before Flashpoint, will always be my all-time favorite era for comic books.
If you didn't, what I'm saying is, like, if you hadn't have read all of that stuff, would you have been a bit thrown off by this?
Absolutely, I'm sure I would.
Yeah, you definitely would.
Because I already know, so I can't really say what I would be if I didn't know, because I do know. But I'm sure if I didn't know, then I would. That sounded really confusing, but yeah.
If someone came up to me going, "Scott, you're a Flash fan. I want to start reading. Should I start with this book?" I would go, "No. Start at the start. Go all the way back, just like I did. Just so you
back to the golden age with you."
Yeah, because, like, I think I've said it on previous videos. Like, that was the first ever trade that I bought, but it took me about 3 years to actually get to reading it because I read everything else because I didn't want to miss it. Pretty much, I didn't want to miss any references and just get what I'm reading. And I think, like it is a book that will leave you falling a bit short if you are jumping in at this point. You're like, right, like for me, like the fact that the Reverse Flash is in this is very impactful. But for anyone who's never read this before, is like, so what? It's just Reverse Flash. But like, he's also been dead for years and years and years, and he's come back as well. So everything is just, this book for Flash fans. It's got everything you want. The icon Barry Allen is back. His arch nemesis Reverse Flash is back. You've got all the other speedsters that have grown up throughout the years in the book as well, throughout the whole story. And it's just, you got the fact that they reveal that when Barry Allen got doused in all those chemicals and the lightning bolt hit him, he then acquired the Speed Force. But then in this book, it was revealed that he created the Speed Force. Yeah. And
I have had a few people contact me when they saw that this was the read for this week. And Flash fans have said this is one of the best Flash stories that you can read. So I think for Flash fans, who I am now labeling Flashers, just because I think it sounds cool. So for Flashers, I think that, I am being told that this is pretty awesome. We've got Biggie in here saying he likes Silver Age Flash stories probably the most. I mean, I've read a few Silver Age Flash, and it is good, man. I do like Silver Age Flash. I think... Go on, sorry, Phil. Go on.
I was going to say, there's no question that the Speed Force is a rather complicated entity, I suppose, really, isn't it? Because
I felt like I needed to go and get a degree in maths or something to work out what the Speed Force is.
Like I get the the simplicity, like the simple form of it, I understand it, but then it just becomes this whole bigger thing, and all the time it's a bit too complicated, And
the other books that I've read of the Flash, like it obviously has the Speed Force and all of that in there, but this seems like they've just taken the concept of the Speed Force and then ramped it up to 11. There's all of these equations, and it's got a set pattern of how it works. Like it's not just this thing anymore that Barry uses to run. It's affects time and space and people's moods. Like you have to have this lightning rod to ground you, and I genuinely, it was so overwhelming in 6 issues for me. I was kind of like, what?
Another issue I had as well, like again, you guys have read the Flash, were able to tell me, like of Jay Garrick and Jesse Quick and Max whatever
Mercury.
All these speedsters, are they in all the Flash books? Because there's just too many of them.
No. This is just like a team up book kind of thing.
Yeah,
really. You'll have different speedsters jumping in now and again, but yeah, this is one where everyone's in, and they're just just like a Justice League kind of thing.
Justice Society, Kid Flash is in Teen Titans, Wally's with the Titans.
Yeah, Jay is with the
Justice League.
And Wally,
they're all spread out, aren't they, across the DC books? I just say, like, I think if you're going to read this and you are a person that hasn't kind of covered much Flash ground, Greyman's advice here is probably the best you're going to have for this book, and that's comic science isn't to be understood. Just roll with it. I completely agree with that, Greyman.
You learn as you go along. You will learn as you go along.
I don't want to learn. Yeah. I just want to just sit there like a vegetable and read a book, and then that's it.
I will. Do you know what I would have preferred? Sorry,
I was just going to say, think of the Speed Force as Batman's utility belt. It does whatever the Flash needs it to do at that time. Just like Batman's utility belt has everything he needs on it. That's all you have to think.
Do you know what I would have preferred for this book for me? I would have preferred it be longer and have more, maybe we get more of a refresher or backstory over what had happened, like a recap. I know that for hardcore flashers, I'm sticking with it now. That may have kind of, they were like, oh, well, why are you putting this stuff in again? But I think it might have helped with the equilibrium between new readers and hardcore fans at that point.
I feel like they do trust their fans a bit much, but for the trade, they could have put a couple of issues of something else in at the beginning. Like, here's a recap, here's an origin, like just something at the start of the trade.
Even if it was just a page of text that are saying, a year ago or 20 years ago, this happened, and I completely agree.
Can I talk about some other little bits that I enjoyed?
Go for it. You fangirl away, buddy.
So one thing I loved about the art was, so I've read a lot of books before and a lot of books after this book. And it's probably still one of my favorite ones in terms of art, at how they convey the speed, just all the blurs and stuff. And I think it was in the second photo that I sent you, Dean. It was
photo number 2, sir.
Photo number 2. So this whole page, it just goes from, he's only said like 2 sentences, and he's not in his costume, puts his costume on, says that he's going to be late, and then shoots off. And it's just like that kind of, I don't know, the immensity of it. It's like, this is one of the only books that I can actually kind of feel it a bit, you know what I mean? And and all the other books, then they're just like, oh, Flash goes fast, you know what I mean? Not saying that I don't enjoy it, but this book for me definitely conveys speed in the best way for the art.
Oh yeah, I will say that, like, you can see there that transition there of him changing, like, that is incredible, man.
It is.
That is a magnificent piece of art.
Yeah,
some artists are just too static. He actually shows motion in his panels. Really, it's fantastic.
Really good. Yeah. One other thing that I loved about the speed, it wasn't so much the art, but it was when he had turned into the Black Flash, and he was running off, and Superman was chasing him, and then Superman was like, oh, we've had a few races, I've even beat you a few times, and he just goes, that was for charity, Clark. And it just goes, and he's gone. And I'm like, yes. So
I did love that myself. I thought
that was awesome. I thought that was really cool. Nice little nod to the races and stuff that they had.
Yeah.
And another reason why I would have preferred this to be a bit longer, what I would have liked, the part in the story, like where Barry goes back into the Speed Force and they're trying to get him out, and like you said, he's been gone, he's been trapped in there for all this time. And it didn't seem like it was that difficult to get in and out of the Speed Force for me, really, in this. While he's all like, I'll go get him. Way in the Speed Force. Way, we're out the Speed Force. Like, I think if it was longer than 6 issues, like, they could have maybe made that more dramatic. You know what I mean?
But
just
they didn't know
reminded me of
he
being
was
on
in
like
the
a.
Speed Force. They thought he was
Say-
dead. Remember, they didn't know he was in the Speed Force.
Yeah,
They thought he was dead.
gone.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, when he gets out, I'm not on about when he's in there, but like he gets out of the Speed Force, but then when he goes back in, like, to sacrifice himself, then Wally goes in after him, doesn't he? And it just seemed very easy to get in and out when we know he'd been trapped there for all that time.
I think they touch in the book that he wasn't just fully formed, he was some sort of like energy, you know what I mean, inside the Speed Force. So he's like, you know, just particled around the place. But then it also, when in Final Crisis, when he does come back, it says that, like, it's something along the lines of, you know, he's been running away from death, because there's literally like a death flash pretty much chasing him. He's been running away from that the whole time as well. So is he just distracted from getting out, or, you know, I have no idea. But yeah, that is a point.
I was likening it to the like a carousel when it's moving and you're about to jump on the horse and it's your turn and you're just waiting for the right speed and you just jump in. That's what I was thinking about whenever I.
Can I just say hello to Lee from the Retro K as well?
Hi, buddy.
How you doing, Lee? Hope you're well, mate. Yeah, and I have another question here. Like, what is the Reverse Flash's problem, man?
Jealousy.
What's his issue? Why is he going to all this effort to harass Barry?
It's jealousy. He's from the future where Flash is this massive hero, isn't he?
Yeah.
And so he wanted to recreate his power so he could become a Flash. And Scott should be... Why do I keep answering for Scott? Sorry, Scott.
It's all right, man. You go.
And so, like, he recreates the accident that created Barry, creating his own Speed Force. And he decides he doesn't just want to be like Barry, he wants to be Barry. So he wants to be the Flash. But then when he goes back in time, he decides he'd rather just play with Barry and just completely ruin his life.
So basically, he's a very, very creepy dude.
The thing I don't get about that, because he's from the 25th century, it says in the book, right? I'm pretty certain by then Barry Allen probably is dead.
Yes.
Naturally, he's dead. So why couldn't this guy, Vaughn, or whatever you call him, be the Flash in that time? Like, what if he was so jealous and wanted to be the Flash? He had every chance to be the Flash in the 25th century and be their hero.
I think because Flash was so immortalized as a hero that he'll never, you know, be on the same level as Flash no matter what he does. So I think he wants to destroy the Flash, but he can't, because if he destroys the Flash, he destroys the Speed Force, which means Reverse Flash can't have his Speed Force.
And in this book, these 6 issues, don't we find out that Barry is actually generating the Speed Force?
Yes, he's basically the engine.
So if the Reverse Flash did get rid of him, they'd be kind of getting rid of each other, wouldn't they? But that was my understanding.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like the yin and yang of...
100%. Yeah. So it's basically Reverse's Flash mission to make Barry's life miserable until he just dies naturally. And
stops him being the hero that he is in the future. So
that's,
he's not
you know what, that's like most girlfriends I've ever had. Like...
He basically just wants to break Barry down so that he just doesn't become the hero he's meant to become. So he's just a spiteful person, and he should go back to the future. It was good when Barry snapped his neck. We enjoyed that, didn't we?
Back to the Future, that's such a movie. Great movie.
I do love how creepy Reverse Flash gets, and he's like conniving, you know what I mean? He's just like scheming all the time. Like, all he's got in his mind, how can I ruin this guy's life without killing him?
And he's so scary as well, because when he goes to the house and Wally's kids are there, you don't know what he's going to do to those kids. No. He could quite easily kill them, and you have that fear, even as a reader, even knowing that I've read past this, obviously, but even reading this, you still have that fear. It's like, is he going to do something terrible to these kids? He could just kill them.
I will say, like, this does get quite dark, doesn't it? When you get to that point when he's got the kids and he's going after Iris and all that stuff, like, he gets a little bit stalky.
No one feels safe in this book, which is great.
Yeah, it is slightly unpredictable, and Reverse Flash brings that unpredictability to the book. Yeah.
Can I ask one more question about Reverse Flash here? What's with that little stick that he has? The little.
Well, I read at the back. So at the back of the trade, it's got like sketches and stuff of the characters, and he is there. So he's got like a sketch here, that one there with his stick, and he basically said he only put that in because he wanted to make him look a bit more like a scholar type of guy. So that's
it's like a cane. Is it meant to be like a Flash cane?
I'll be honest, I didn't get scholar. I got some kind of like fast wizard vibe from it.
Yeah,
I thought it was Weather Wizard's stick at first. I thought he had Weather Wizard wand, and I thought he was like pointing the lightning. But yeah, I mean, it's a great murder weapon.
Yeah, it was very sharp.
Very stabby.
This is what I'm going to ask as well, because in that part with that kind of stabby Flash stick, Iris West, when she had the first date with Barry, she kept the stick in her kind of memory box. Did this book, did it retcon a lot of kind of origin story for the two of them, or is this the first time we're seeing like how they got together and so on? Like, I mean, did this retcon anything at all? Because obviously the Reverse Flash is going back and killing the dog and throwing him down the stairs to try and ruin his life. So did any of this stuff happen?
All of this is pretty new, isn't it? I
think this does kind of retcon stuff, doesn't it? Particularly, and Scott will probably tell you about it, the big one in this book. We all knew that happened, but we didn't know that these things were the reasons for them, so to speak. So I suppose that is a retconning in a way, isn't it? I think this is more of a kind of, you just go back and fill in blanks more than anything else, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
It's just adding stuff in, isn't it?
So in terms of like Barry Allen's mother, this didn't
just say hello to Bill there.
So it was revealed in this story that it was never even mentioned that like Barry Allen's mother died before. It was just this was the first book where they've just gone, yeah, we'll just chuck that into the story. Okay. So you've got the thing at the very start, like his mother was murdered, and you think it's his dad, and then at the end, Reverse Flash just goes, it was me, and that is all new in this book.
So I'm just thinking back to the Zack Snyder Justice League movie, whenever Barry Allen was visiting his dad in prison. Yeah. So I assume that was a common thing. It's been on the whole time that his dad was in prison and so on. But this is the first time that's...
Yeah. And it's I think it's such a good emotional thing for Barry Allen, because they put it in the Justice League movie, they put it in the Flash TV show, and that's such a, it's such a, can't think of the word.
It's motivation, I suppose, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's now his iconic origin, isn't it? Like Batman's parents being shot. It's now Barry's dad was accused of killing his mum, and we know he didn't do it. It's why he became
so many origin stories involving dead parents in DC. What's going on, DC?
Yeah. Did anyone else though at the beginning of the book think Barry was being a bit of a whiny bitch? It's like, dude, you just came back from the dead. You can be a little bit more grateful. I mean, I know you weren't dead, like you were trapped, but be a bit more grateful.
But he was trapped in the Speed Force, so he was trapped for 23 years, constantly running. You think he'd take a rest, go for a nap, take it easy for a few days, but he just didn't want to do that.
No, but doesn't he explain all of that about that restless feeling that he has and all of that? Like he explains, doesn't he? Not that I completely understood it, I'll be honest with you, that is something to do with the Reverse Flash, isn't it? And the way that the forces are working,
the changes that were happening to his past, and
So for anyone who's not read it, basically the Reverse Flash is dead, but is in the Speed Force. But for this whole time, he's been running around loads, spreading his negative Speed Force into Barry's positive Speed Force, therefore making the normal Speed Force bad.
Yeah.
So the more Barry ran, the more Barry became the Dark Flash.
Yeah, and I kind of like that as well, that it does become a race between a kind of Speed Force and negative Speed Force, doesn't it? It's like who can run the fastest generates more force, which was quite cool. I did like that bit.
But then I didn't understand the fact that for the positive Speed Force, they needed multiple speedsters to kind of keep up with one speedster, didn't they? They needed a few of them. Like
that's because they were all tapping into Barry's Speed Force.
Yeah.
The only person that... Yeah, the Reverse Flash has his own.
Tapping into his Speed Force.
Well, that's what they say. Jay Garrick.
I know. I
explains
just
that-
got visions of him going, "Get off me, Speed Force! Get off!"
Well, it's like a Wi-Fi. It's like your Wi-Fi. If you've got too many computers on it, it runs slower. So the less people are taking up bandwidth, the faster you can go. So that's why Reverse Flash is so much faster. But those fight scenes were awesome. When he grabs Jay and takes away his aura and just sets fire to him, I thought that was
that is
brutal,
cool.
but brilliant.
And there was a bit of a message in this as well, as wasn't that, about like, you know, not being alone, like, you know, you're stronger together, you know. I got a vibe of that from it, especially towards the end there.
Like for me, like morals of the story, it is a story about teamwork, like hope and love. At the end of the day, that is all it's about, and that's what Barry is as a whole. I think he is just like probably the most hopeful superhero and like emotionally driven, in my opinion, like by love, you know, for like Iris and you know, the memory of his mother and all the other speedsters and stuff like that.
Oh god, yeah, because like we said, just touched on earlier, you know, like they need a lightning rod, and when they say lightning rod, that is the attachment to their loved ones, isn't it? You know, that's what it appears to be for most of them.
Yeah.
I didn't understand why Max Mercury didn't have a lightning rod. Surely Bart would have been his lightning rod.
He was just having a moan, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he travelled from the
I
future.
got no one. I haven't got a lightning rod.
He's got Impulse. Impulse would be his lightning rod because they travelled together. He trained him. They travelled back in time together. He's his mentor and his best friend. So I found that really weird. It's like, dude, come on now.
So is Kid Flash is Barry Allen's grandson?
Yes.
Yes.
Who's his son?
We don't
Who's
know
Barry?
because Bart has come from the future.
Oh. Have they inserted a son since this book? Is there somebody you know?
No.
So they're just kind of plotting stories for the future because his son's also going to be a baddie.
Just winging it, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think at some point we've got to see a son, haven't we? Surely that's got to come.
Yeah.
But also the mother is related to Reverse Flash.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott, question here from Greyman. Didn't Impulse get killed before Rebirth?
No.
But they did mention that she called herself Impulse, and then they all like Impulse question mark. So like, was there an Impulse before her?
Yeah, Kid Flash was Impulse. Bart Allen was Impulse. Fantastic. He changed in issue 5 of Teen Titans to
just kids pick a name, man. Stick with it.
This is the thing about Flash. Like, it's like the handing over of the legacy kind of thing. So like, Barry Allen was Flash, and then Wally West was Kid Flash, and then Barry dies. Wally takes over the mantle, becomes Flash, and then you have Impulse, who then becomes Kid Flash. And then
it's like you go up a stage.
I know, you're kind of like leveling up, and then
I feel like we need a goddamn family tree, like, you know, like you get from Ancestry.com or something, just to work out what the hell's going on here.
You guys understand why Jesse Quick kept on saying this speed equation?
No.
Because she's not.
Because she touched that the head, didn't she, in the end, and then all that magic happened.
Yeah, so Jesse Quick, because Liberty Bell is attached to the Speed Force, while Johnny Quick is not attached to the Speed Force. He has an equation that he says that gives him temporary speed.
I'm trying to find pen and paper. Wait 1 second. I just find
you do realise this is recorded, Phil. You can just go back and watch it. You don't need to write down.
I'm not smart enough to get the Flash family tree. I'm not going to know that this is recorded. But that's the thing. The kind of the hierarchy, the kind of layers of all the Flash speedsters. It can be quite complicated to a newbie like myself.
It is.
Like,
if
you have like Scott, who's read off from number 1 right through to 800, wherever he's at the minute, like I'm not going to do that. So for this particular book, we'll just go back to the actual book. Like I mentioned before, it's not a jumping on point because I think it did kind of highlight all the complicatedness of the Flash family.
Yeah. And that's what I thought was both a good thing and a bad thing in this book. It's kind of like, on the one hand, it was great, and then on the other hand, it was confusing. So it's a really tricky one, I think, to wrap my head around a little bit. But I mean, for the DC pros down here, would I be right in saying, because it seems to me from what I've ever read of the Flash, that the Flash is probably, out of all the main characters of DC there, the main series characters, that the Flash is probably the one that's the hardest to just pick up.
Yeah.
Like, it seems to me from what I've read of DC, like, you can pick up Wonder Woman, Batman, and you can just kind of go there. The Flash seems a bit more tricky because of all of the family members involved and the history. It seems a little bit more tricky than Batman or Wonder Woman or Aquaman or something.
I think you could pick up Flash at New 52, like the start of New 52, like after Flashpoint. I think you could pick it up after that, because it does pretty much restart things. Because this book leads into Flashpoint, and then we go into New 52. So if anyone is interested in reading the Flash, start there. Unless you've got loads of time, start number 1.
This is what I was going to say in terms of the DC kind of timeline. As everyone knows, it's all over the place, and every time they change, it's all over the show, and it seems to always kind of center around the Flash, like stuff like the Flashpoint. This. And like, I've watched Flashpoint, the animated movie, which was great. I haven't read the book, but I just think
got all 70 issues if you want
to. Are they worth anything? You can send them my way if you want. I'll just resell them on eBay.
No,
that's a great story, though. To be fair,
yeah, it's very good. It's very good.
So go on, Scott.
What I did like about the hierarchy kind of thing that Phil kind of mentioned earlier was, so like, Wally has been the Flash for all of these years, for 20 odd years, but like, it was really good that sort of he is like the leader of the speedsters pretty much, isn't he? But he was so easy to just show the respect and give the leadership over to Barry pretty much. But
Scott, while you were talking, can I show people that last image of yours with them all on there?
Yes, of course. I love this image. This image, like, even though I've read this before, reading this again, I got to this image and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Because it just shows.
Sorry, can I just say the 2 Flashes I think are in the wrong costumes. I do think Barry should be in the darker red.
Yeah,
it looks more retro and older.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. Like, I'm glad they did change the costumes, because they did have exactly the same suits, didn't they? Apart from the belt. The belt was slightly different, but apart from that, like the cowl and the color, everything was exactly the same. But this image was just so cool. So basically, they just it was, I think it's a little bit corny, where Wally was just like, right, everyone close your eyes and think of your costume, and it's a little trick I've learned from the Speed Force. And I was like, right, okay, but what the aftermath of that was awesome, because you got Liberty Bell at the on the left. Her costume changes. Max Mercury stays the same. Kid Flash stays the same. Barry stays the same. But then Wally, and then Impulse and Jay, all of their costumes change, and I think it's cool. But what I'm gutted about, it's slightly changed. Yeah, if you look at like issue 1 and then look at that one, it is there's literally the lightning bolt, and that's it. But what's gutting me about this is the fact that you have, so all these costumes are changed, and it's really cool. But then you have like all the road to Flashpoint, and then the Flashpoint, and then the New 52, and they're all pretty much gone. And you don't see these costumes anymore. You don't see these characters, and that's what is, they made such an effort to make an impact with these characters and these new costumes, and then gone.
Yeah.
And
see, Liberty, what's her name? Liberty Bell.
Liberty Bell.
Did they have to make her testicles that big for that image? Because
they did.
I would have thought
they did.
when you're running that fast, you need to wear like a sports bra or something.
It's okay. She's got an aura that protects her chest.
Oh, right, okay.
Fine.
And
so, valid question, Phil. Valid question.
The bigger the boob, the better. The bigger the boob, the better. Just remember.
We've got a question here from Lee. Let's answer Lee's question here, and then we'll do our final thoughts and scores for folks. Lee's asking, so is Iris still from the future?
I don't actually know how she comes back to life, because she dies too.
You've let the viewers down, Scott.
I don't actually know. I don't actually know how she comes back. But she is like, they explain in the book, and it's she like Reverse Flash is like, do you understand why everyone is still young? Whoever's around your Speed Force stays kind of like youthens, like they kind of get, you know.
Yeah, he does say that. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
He does, doesn't he? Because he says, "Oh, it's about the secret of youth. It's more than just running fast and time and all of that stuff." Yeah,
because Jay is like nearly 100 years old, but he looks like 50 odd years old, and that's a cool thing about this. Like, you know, like comics, they've got the immortalization of characters, don't they? They never seem to age, do they? You know, like when you watch stuff like Simpsons and Family Guy, no one ages. But so this was a really clever way of explaining why all these characters still look young.
Just like me. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you got Barry right there with you.
I was born like this. I've looked like this since I was 5.
Wow. You know, it's that kind of cool thing where they've managed to explain in that kind of immortalization with some Speed Force science. Yeah, I really like that. Science. Comic book science, man. Yeah.
Okay, let's do it then. Let's glasses off and then back on again. Final thoughts and scores. Let's go around that way. Let's go with Phil first. Philip.
Well, I don't want to break Scott's heart.
It's already broken, mate. How dare you?
He is my best YouTube friend. So I'm joking. No, don't.
Only joking. What the?
No. So it's hard to explain. Like I said before, like there's a lot in this book that it kind of references stuff that's gone on before and even since, because there's all the whole timeline stuff that kind of is all a bit messed up, and I don't fully understand it. And I can piece some stuff together, but there's some stuff that's like I needed to read more from other stuff to piece together. So going in as a newbie into this kind of world, it was difficult to kind of get into it as much as you two guys are into it. But taking the book for what it is, art was superb. Loved like everybody you said about the kind of blurry images, the kind of all that. Loved it. The story and the kind of threat was good too. I just maybe thought, do we need all the speedsters? Like, it just seems a bit much at times. So I can't be too critical. Barry was a bit of a whiny git at the start. It's like, just get over yourself, pal. But he kind of redeemed himself later on, I suppose. So I'm going to be fair without being too critical. Sorry, Scott.
It's okay.
It's going to be a 6.
That's what I thought you'd say.
Woo! Number 6 from the money.
Is that a rock hard 6?
No, it's a floppy 6.
Floppy 6.
Ooh, floppy 6. I will say as well, anyone, you know what we're doing here. If you've read the Flash Rebirth, drop your score in there as well. 1 to 10. You are allowed 0.5s, and we'll take an average of what you guys think as well if you've read along this week. Shane, how about you then, mate? What's your final thoughts and scores?
I loved this book. Not only is the art phenomenal, the story's great, and it's set in the time period that I love, or it was created in the time period that I love of comics. The pre-Flashpoint, post-Crisis, phenomenal. I loved it. And it also broke my heart, and it hurts me, because this is the book that creates Flashpoint, because had Reverse Flash not told Barry that he killed his mother, Barry wouldn't have ruined my life and ruined the last 10 years of my life. And it's crazy how good this book is, how well written, how well drawn, how well paced. Like, every issue is exciting and fun, and I love this book. And as much as I hate what comes after this book, I can't fault this book. It's got to be like a 9.5 for me. Yeah, this is close to perfect when it comes to a Flash book. I can't. If you find me a better Flash book, if you can find me a better, no, this is the pinnacle of Flash books.
Hey, and Shane doesn't use the word pinnacle lightly, folks. Thanks, Shane. Scott, how about you? Need we ask?
Well, first of all, Jeff, you've done Flash a justice. It's fantastic. To be able to bring back a character 23 years later and have this much of an impact on Barry Allen fans and or Flash fans in general, it's fantastic. I mean, art is amazing, like everyone said. The way they convey all the speed is fantastic. We didn't touch on I wanted to talk about the reverse flashes, kind of like after images, because you get his face blurring, but that you get different, like a smile, a grin, a grimace, and that kind of stuff, and that's awesome.
Like me when I'm drunk, blurry, weird facial expressions.
Yeah. But this book set up so much, and it's still having an effect now on the Flash. You know, the fact, I know Shane hasn't enjoyed that, but personally I have. You know, the fact that they've said that Barry is the Speed Force, essentially. You know, the fact that they've revealed the huge origin story that his mother has been murdered by the Reverse Flash, giving him a reason to have this kind of arch enemy again. You know, the fact that they brought back Reverse Flash as well, and everything was done. Nothing felt forced. But yeah, I do admire the fact that new readers will struggle with this. But I think this is more of a book for experienced readers in Flash and people who really enjoy the character. And it is just fantastic. Like I said earlier, I have not read another Flash book that has made me feel this excited when looking at panels, turning pages, what's coming next, what is Reverse Flash going to do, what's going to happen to these characters. It is just like, it is the book that all Flash writers should aspire to be, I think. And for me, also going to be 9.5.
Scott, is this the first time you read this book? Because you're reading up to date, aren't you? You're trying to read in order, so you've actually passed this now. And
yeah, this is the second time I've read this book now.
This ain't the first time he's read. This is not this man's first rodeo. You can tell. Just before we get to mine, then let's have a look what we've got in the chat here so far. Just scrolling back up here, bear with me. We got your brother Shane saying 8 out of 10 based on the fact after this Barry ruins the DC universe, and I'll never forgive him for that, Scott.
Yes, Scott.
Yes, Scott.
Why is it me, man?
We got Tom here giving it an 8.5 out of 10. We got Lee from the Retro Cave, a 7 out of 10 for Lee. We got Liam with a 7.5 out of 10. So there you go. We've got a mix of scores there. Before we do the averages on that, I'll do mine, and then we'll see what totals we get. I love this. I really did like it. I do agree with what lots of people are telling me, that this does seem like a definitive Flash story. And I haven't read a lot of Flash, but from what I have, this is probably the most kind of like wow one that I've read. And I love Jeff Johns' writing anyway. I think that guy's incredible. The whole new reader versus hardcore Flasher to me was a good thing and a bad thing. As I said, I went through phases. Half of me was kind of like, this is confusing me a little bit, and then other parts I was all like, I could see that if I was a huge Flash fan, like that would be amazing for me. So I kind of like, when I said earlier, I marked it down a little bit. I kind of marked it back up a little bit at the same time of doing that. I know it sounds really weird, but it's like the best way I could kind of make sense of it in my mind. Artwork, I haven't got one single criticism about the artwork of this. I think if you are going to draw the Flash character, this is how you draw the Flash. All of those huge panels of the Speed Force and all the electric and all of that just looks phenomenal. And just looking at this, you get a sense of excitement. And like Shane said, motion. That's the key word, I think, in this art is motion. You get a sense of this is moving, and it's moving quickly. For me, I kind of personally, and this is my own personal view, I would have liked this to be a bit longer rather than it kind of just be squished on 6 issues. I kind of would have liked, like I said, more explanation for maybe what had happened and filling us in on those little gaps. But that wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a big deal. I just would have liked that for myself. So for me, to round it all up there, it's an 8 for me out of 10.
Well done.
So with those scores, let's have a look what the herd gave it first. They gave it an average of 7.8, folks.
Nice.
Yeah, in the chat there. And for us, we gave it an 8.3. Is what we got. So let's just take a look, see where that falls on the trusty Nerd Herd leaderboard. At an 8.3, where does that fall? It's in the top.
Fourth.
No, because we've got Harleen at first place, Pulp at joint second with Klaus.
Yeah.
So yeah, this falls in third place above Gods and Malls.
Wow.
How is this better than Maximum Carnage? How is this? Even Saga. How is this better than Saga?
Because it's shorter. Oh, and because it doesn't have legs all the way up, Griffin.
That's what it's missing. It's missing Sextillion and on Flash Reader.
That's the next volume. Sextillion.
I'm gonna buy
Flash
that.
goes to Sextillion.
Yeah, you travel space time to go to Sextillion. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of think that's fair.
I'm
Again, I'm trying not to let my lack of knowledge get in the way of that, because again, that's my issue as a reader, not the book. It didn't make it too complicated so that you couldn't understand it, but it did make me feel like I should go and read a bunch of other stuff as well, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Sorry, go on, Phil.
You go first.
I was just going to say, after this, I'm going to read the Reverse Flash Rebirth as well, because he's got a mini-series, so I want to read that now.
I was just really disappointed in this book because it didn't have any of the Cyborg. And we all know Cyborg is more powerful and a better Justice League member than the Flash.
Cyborg was in this book. He was with the Titans.
Nice thought.
He was with the Titans. You know when you saw Starfire petting Beast Boy?
Aye, but he
was, yeah. When that moment in the beginning, you know, when Barry touches I can't remember who it was, and everybody feels it. Cyborg's treating one of the kids, isn't he? Yeah. He's doing tests on them. Yeah.
See, so Jeff Johns is a clever fella. He knew if he was to write Cyborg so much in this book, he would overshadow Barry Allen. So he gave him a small cameo role, like petting a dog or whatever it was you were saying. So
Scott, do you want me to boot him? Do you want me to kick him?
Full disclosure, I'm fully aware that Phil is trying to trigger me.
Triggered.
But can I also say this here? I actually genuinely mean this. For what I've read of the Flash, and also like kind of metal and death metal, I really, really like Wally West as the best Flash.
He is awesome. He really pushes the Speed Force to its limits in his run.
He is a lot of people's he is their Flash, isn't he, for a lot of people? I know Barry Allen tends to be the name that gets banned around, but for a lot of comic book readers, Wally West is their Flash.
Well, that's when they started reading, when he was the Flash.
Probably.
So they don't know anything different. But for me, Bart Allen's my favourite speedster.
It's also very rare you have a superhero with ginger hair. So Wally West, he's still in that void.
Well, it's the niche.
During this time in comics, Jason Todd had ginger hair as well. He stopped dyeing his hair. So Red Hood had ginger hair as well. So they were going for a ginger thing back in the day before Flashpoint ruined everything.
All right then, folks. That is the Flash from 2009, the Flash Rebirth from DC there. Next week, we have got some Marvel goodness for you. And this was Philip's pick right here. And we are reading Thor from 2014, and that's Marvel. We're reading the whole volume there, which I think, how many issues did we say it was?
8, but then there's one annual.
8 and an annual, yeah.
8 and an annual. There you go. So we are reading the whole thing, volume 1 Thor, and this is the one where Jane Foster picks up the hammer.
Woo,
badass.
Yay.
Spoilers.
Jason Aaron and Dorman on art. That's a fantastic team.
Oh yeah, it's a very highly rated book. Yeah, so hopefully everyone will want to read along. Yeah, so hopefully everyone will read along and then come and join us for that discussion. I think, there's a bit of curiosity around that as well, isn't there, given the Thor films and where that's going and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there we go then, folks. That's what we're reading next week. Do we want to just go around and let people know what you guys have got coming up on your channels this week?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's go that way. Sorry, Barry.
I'm kind of rebranding my channel at the minute. I'm kind of moving away from kind of static, kind of show and tell videos, and I'm kind of moving more towards like a vlog style. So I hopefully drop in the first vlog on Sunday, and that'll be just my life and my Nerdyverse, I suppose.
Awesome. I can't wait.
Nice, man.
Should be something.
Awesome. Shane?
I'm punishing myself by reading more Future State. I'm reading and reacting to Future State. Before we did this, I read Justice League. Don't read Justice League. So yeah,
dear.
every
You
day
okay?
for January and February. I'm not okay. I'm still fuming. That
People-
book is so disgustingly insulting that you might as well just come around my house and punch me in my face. Don't print that.
For people listening and watching, do go watch those videos because they are funny.
They are brilliant.
They are really good.
January and February sorted. Yeah.
There we go. And you're recording a quiz this
Yes.
weekend as well. Any next
Saturday
quiz
we'll
is
be
coming?
recording it. So Saturday's recording. Hopefully I can get it edited. We'll get it out one day next week.
Nice.
Awesome.
I'm going to win.
Can't wait.
You heard it here first, folks. It's all
so
the money.
I have to win.
Oh yeah, because your certificate's invalid now because it's got the wrong name on it.
Invalid.
I
You're not shredded.
I ripped it up whenever James won, and then I felt bad, so I went back and I started it back together. It's all in pieces, but it's together. Sellotape.
Scott, how about yourself, mate? What's happening on the shelf this week?
Nothing this week, but we are ramping up to the premiere of Comic Airwaves. I've got a date. I've got a time. It's January 30th. This is a Saturday at 8:30 p.m. So
Awesome.
I've been working hard this week. I'm setting a lot of stuff up. Honestly, guys, production value is off the chart.
Whoa.
Probably not, but I'm probably tooting too big of a horn there. But yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be the very first video-styled radio show based on comics you've ever seen. It's going to be fantastic. And next week, myself, Phil, Shane, and my two friends, Liam and Luke, we are going to be recording more for our D&D session, Diced and Sliced, next week as well.
These
And
are the sessions I never get invited to.
He's right there.
Sorry, mate. Yes, I'm only doing Comic Airwaves. Yeah, can't wait. But yes, please, this is going to be, Comic Airwaves is going to be a show where it's going to be mega interactive. Everyone can join in. It's going to be really fun. We're going to have like callers in, and we're going to have just loads of fun bands. It's going to be music. We're going to do the top hits. No, I'm joking. It's going to be a great laugh, and I hope everyone can join in just for the first episode. Just see if you like it.
Awesome.
I can't wait, mate. I think it's going to be awesome.
You will.
As for me, I am just doing this right now. I'll be on Shane's quiz. I'll be joining the guys over there because I'm a glutton for punishment. So I'll be over there as well. Yeah, cat. That's my answer. So that's it, really. That's it for me, and I'll see you on the Nerd Herd next week. I think before I go, I just kind of like to leave you with a personal message from myself. I think it needs to be said this week. I've seen some like pretty horrible stuff going down across social media this week, and that's been pretty upsetting to see. And I'd just like to, if you're watching this now or catching it on the rewind or listening on the podcast, just as a reminder, be nice to each other. There's no point, having any unnecessary nonsense going on. In social groups, you're going to get people that you don't agree with. You're going to get people that you don't get on with, and you're going to get people you don't even like. But if you start going out of your way to be mean or cruel or publicly attacking people, you're crossing a line there for people, and it shouldn't happen in any community. So hopefully, people, just be nicer. There's too much negativity in the world. Yeah, be kind. On that note, folks, then I'm just going to leave it there. You know, be nice. I think, Scott, your number one rule in life is don't be a dick. I think
It
we've
is.
agreed on
Yeah.
that.
Just don't be a dick.
I
mate.
think it's a rule to live by, man.
Got it tattooed on his inner arm.
So should we all get matching tattoos? Don't be a dick. Let's do it. Let's do it.
I'll just get one of Flash's lunchbox. His cabbage on the arm. Don't be a yes.
Okay, then, folks, we're going to say goodbye, and we're going to do that in the usual way. And given the message there, I think I want you to do it with peace and love in your heart, folks. So do that. Get your waves out.
Bye.
Bye.